I have got a contract with Eurostar.
Right.
I run out same-day deliveries. I've got a van on the way back from Brussels at the moment on a same day, where I the trains with supplies.
Right.
So he was sent out at the early hours of the morning, out to Brussels, reload Brussels, back to London. I go out to Paris, I tip Paris, reload Paris, back to London. Twice, 2-3 times a week I do it. No customs checks. All I have to do is run out the goods on what's called a CMR form, which is an international delivery note.
Right.
If we go outside the customs union in any sense of the imagination, we will need to do what is called transit documents. They cost 75 to 90 quid a pop. You have to go to Customs House in Dover to clear them. You have to park up. If you get sent down what is called a Route 1, which I've had before, you're stuck there for 6 to 7 hours waiting to clear them. On a good day, you can be in and out in 45, 50 minutes. And Customs House...
But how many vehicles potentially would have to do that if we were outside the customs union?
All of them.
And all of them would take 45 to 50 minutes?
Well, that's on a quiet day if you're going in at 9.
No, this is scary, mate, because look, I've laid out what I thought I understood, and then I admitted I know nothing. You live and work and depend upon this free movement of goods completely. Yes, you do it every single day, often several times a day, and if I've understood you correctly so far, you're saying it's even worse than you thought, James.
I've said all along a vote to leave would be a vote to leave the customs union, which scared me, and I knew it would possibly be the beginning of the end for express van transport in this country. The just-in-time supply chain is already suffering. A massive Polish company has already gone bust in Poland because of the drop in just-in-time movements of goods in the vehicle automotive industry.
Why would that have happened already, though, Ciaran?
Well, no, because what they do, they have set budgets.
Right.
Like, all the car plants have set budgets on what they want to spend every year to get their overnight stuff. You want a pallet of air filters from France going to Luton. You pick it up at 4 o'clock in the evening, it's at the doorstep in Luton at 8 o'clock the next morning.
And if it isn't, then whatever you're building in Luton doesn't get built, and everything gets...
Well, the production line stops.
And this will be true in Sunderland. This will be true in all. I mean, I saw a just-in-time explanation of what goes on at the Nissan plant in Sunderland, and the margins are like minutes, aren't they? You lose a minute somewhere, and it could actually stop a conveyor belt halfway around the factory.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. I picked up an urgent job out of Stuttgart, and I had to give them updates every hour where I was. It was going to the Dagenham Ford engine plant, where they only build engines now. Because it had stopped. I've literally done a same-day delivery from Stuttgart to Dagenham non-stop.
When the referendum happened and the result came through, what did you think would be in place by now, 2 years later? Because this is, if I've understood you correctly, your livelihood's under threat, right, as we speak.
Do you know what, James?
Go on.
When that vote came in, I cried.
Oh, God.
Right? I knew that everything I'd built up over the last 15 years of doing this job was going to be finished. We are, whether you like it or not, we are a foreign-owned production line in this country where we are owned by outside interests and we put things together. We are not like Germany, where we own BMW, where we own Audi, we own VW. We got BMW Mini in Oxford, Sunderland, Swindon, Honda. They're all foreign-owned, and they're all here because they've got access to the single market, and they've got the freedom of movement of goods where you do not need transit documents and you do not need carnets. And I'll give you another example.
Yeah, please do.
Exhibitions, goods and services, going to exhibitions. If you go to Norway or Switzerland and you've got 100 grand's worth of exhibition stuff in the back of your van, you've got to pay 25% up front before it even goes into the country. Right?
Yeah.
That will put people out of business overnight.
Of course it will.
We've had to do it.
Why? This isn't your field of expertise. It's ostensibly mine. But does it baffle you that that the coverage is so low and so confused, because it's clear to you what's going on. You hear politicians, and obviously some of them on this radio station, saying stuff about the customs union that's palpably absurd. They're going unchallenged, not really because of bias, but because of ignorance. This is your field of knowledge. This is literally your specialist subject.
I'll tell you what I've been doing, James.
Go on.
I've been calling out the liars on Twitter.
Yeah.
Hurry, goes out to Switzerland for an hour, stands at a border and says it's frictionless.
Yeah.
You'll believe it. I put 1 million pictures on there. I put a picture of a transit document, a carnet, and a CMR form. I said, list me what those forms do, how you fill them out, and what they cost. Didn't get a reply.
Who was that?
Right. There was Kate Hurry.
Yeah.
She's standing at a border crossing. She got she went into
I think
the French
Daniel
side.
Hannan's taken a picture of himself somewhere as well and said it's all really easy.
I called him out as well. I called him out and called him a liar. I've got actual pictures on my phone of going through the Swiss border in Basel and coming out at Lake Como. And I tell you now, it's far from frictionless. When you go in, I tell you what, the Swiss border closes at 5 o'clock on a Friday evening and reopens at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning.
Good grief.
You can't enter with commercial goods.
Yeah, for people, I don't want people to get confused. It's in Schengen, so if you're on your holidays, you can cross over to your heart's content. But if you're
yes,
yeah.
you can. As long as you get your vignette,
yeah.
You can cross, but you still have to drive down a motorway that will end and drive underneath a big customs plaza with the police standing there, and you've still got a chance of getting stopped.
Yeah.
Unless your goods are running on what is called a carnet, right, which is a passport for your goods, if they go from multiple place to place, they cost £650 to compile. I've done one.
Yeah.
I've done one to Norway. 650 quid. I had to go and pick it up from the Department of Trade in London. And it took them a week to put together, and my customer said, we're never going to Norway to do an exhibition again.
I don't know if I should do this, but I'm late for the news. You've blown the story wide open. Anyone who's doubting it, first of all saying it's all my fault for making these predictions, and then I point out it's actually the government. You do. Here's one genius saying, oh yeah, you've got your mate to phone in, nice one. This desperation people have to believe that the unicorns are coming. It's quite incredible, because this is, you run a haulage company. You're not some Remainer academic or some metropolitan. You're a blinking van driver who's built up a business, and now you're about to see it go down the toilet because of Brexit.
Well, I am, and I tell you what, I need another van, because my work's actually expanded, but I'm scared to buy one.
Because?
Steve, I'll be left with a van that I've got to pay finance on, and they're not cheap, and I might lose my contract. So what do I do?